and welcome to Between Friends, a weekly conversation between embroidery friends coupled with an embroidery lesson. I'm Eileen Roche, co-founder of Dime, and I'm a longtime machine embroiderer. My stitching sister is in the house today, and I couldn't be more excited. We are taking a trip down memory lane and sharing tips for stitching duplicates. My sister, Marie Zinno, had a commercial embroidery business for 20 years out of her home, like many of you. She started with 1 6 needle and advanced to 3 10 needles, all under her solo operation. She stitched for a construction company, Habitat for Humanity, schools, booster teams, restaurants, and more. Eventually, she specialized in special occasion embroidery for weddings and new babies, which is a great market and maybe one that you would explore servicing. She also did all of that while raising 2 beautiful children along with her husband, Doug Zinno, traveling the country with me as my stitching sister, writing for Designs and Machine Embroidery magazine, authoring 4 books on embroidery, writing blogs, and hosting purse parties. So let's welcome in my sister, Marie Zinno.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Here you are.
So good to be here with you.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for inviting me for your retirement extravaganza.
Oh, you bet.
So excited to be here.
Absolutely. I mean, Marie and I work side by side, long distance, and then literally
That's right.
side by side.
Exactly. Traveling all over the place.
Now you live in
Florida.
Bonita Springs,
Florida.
And
Love
she's
it.
retired.
We're retired.
Yeah.
Not doing as much stitching. I still have my machine, but not
super
quite as
fun.
much the level that we did.
But she
That's for
hasn't.
sure.
Yeah, she hasn't. You haven't been to the office here in Dallas.
Yeah, in about 6
literally
years.
6 years.
Yeah.
So life really changes. She used to come often.
Yeah, people come to visit me now because I live
right.
in a warm, sunny, fun place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't visit a lot in Ohio.
Right. Yeah. But we had. Oh man. We're going to talk a lot about what we did together, what we've done separately, and then we're going to share some great tips on stitching duplicates, because really when you are a commercial embroiderer, that's what you learn to do. You're doing.
Yeah, you have to learn how to do it and do it properly.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely. So let's first say hello to some of our friends. We have Deb is from Delaware. You know, Deb, we actually were raised in Wildwood Crest, New Jersey. So we're Jersey girls, pretty much neighbors to those in Delaware, And here's Deborah Kearney. Hi from Philadelphia.
Oh,
that's awesome. Oh, and look who else is here. Aine McCarthy. She's one of our spectacular educators. So she's just great.
Yeah.
Hi, Aine. Love to see you soon. Okay, so let's see. Karen is up in Minneapolis. Lovely to have you visiting here with us today. And, we have Rita Ranke. So this is my friend from way up north. She's in and Rita, I always forget. I can't remember if it's Wyoming or Montana, but I had the pleasure of meeting her a couple years ago in person at Houston Quilt Fest. And she celebrated a special birthday a couple years ago, and let me tell you, she looks like she's 45.
Oh, yeah?
And she was a little north of that. So I always think of, maybe retirement will do that for all of us, right?
We've met so many amazing people through the years,
I know.
right?
We really
now they're checking in with you.
I know.
So
Laurie Albrecht,
awesome.
she's been, you don't know her, but I do. She works here at Dime as a chat moderator and so forth for our virtual events. And she's been a fan of Dime for a very long time, and so we just love that. Oh, here we have a friend from France. Hello, Marie Jo.
Right.
That's lovely to have you here.
Awesome.
And a Creative Appliques. Now she lives in Virginia near my daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dawn Chase, and she has the company called Creative Appliques.
Oh,
so
cool.
that's super fun. And oh my goodness, just so many folks.
So many different people.
And
That's
it is
great.
hot.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
wow.
absolutely.
Wishing Eileen well in her retirement extravaganza.
Right. It's been a long goodbye, and we still have a ways to go,
I know.
that's okay.
That's okay.
And Roy Garland.
Oh, hi, Roy.
I know.
Sorry, I'm not going to see you in person.
Yeah, but
that would have been fun.
Yeah, and if many of you don't know, Roy has been a long-time Dime employee, and really, he's the wizard behind the software. So if you use that, you're using a lot of his magic for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So just so many. Here's a good friend, Linda Johnston. She lives right here in the Dallas area, and we shop at the same quilt shop. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay.
Lots of shopping here. That's
I know,
for sure.
lots
in
of
Dallas.
shopping.
Lots
Absolutely.
of options. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Should we start off and tell them what happened on our way here today? I think that's just a nice icebreaker.
Yeah. Well,
it's
we're
hot
driving down the highway, 75 miles an hour, and what's that sound? Oh, I don't know. We're driving along. Yeah. And then boom, we got a flat tire.
We got a flat tire. Yeah.
First one in my 25 years of commuting to Dime from, my home here locally. And so anyway, thankfully we were able to get some air that got us another, not even an eighth of a mile. Right. And then what we were able to get in shade and call the office, and Derek Nelson, one of our, really amazing employees who was also a car aficionado, rescued us, and Gary drove him over. Gary Gardner changed the tire. So
lots of excitement.
I don't know what we're facing when we get out of here, but that's the way it is. So, so I think we have something happening. Awesome. Oh, we have a camera down, so that's okay. But we'll just keep chatting for a little bit, and I'm going to let's see. Oh, and Sheila Irvin says she just loves making my earrings. I like making them too. They're so fun. So nice. They really
there's
are.
Our friend Joanne Banko. Hi, Joanne. My Buckeye friends.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, Buckeye is the national flower or tree of Ohio. And so, Joanne is a fellow Ohio, and Marie lived there for many years. Right. And Joanne.
Of course, we traveled around a lot with her as well. I see her at different shows. Right.
And she says hugs to both of us for sure. That's lovely.
That's great.
Just lovely. And let's see. Okay. So I'm going to pop up PowerPoint. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how we got started. So I got into machine embroidery, and
somehow hooked me into it a couple of years down the road.
There's a lot of history there with that for sure. And but eventually we started to teach all around the country as the Stitching Sisters. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stage, see if we can make that happen. And, we just thought this photo would be a little bit fun, just a little sisterly competition, right? You are
sunset
totally
picture that we took. Yeah,
right. You are totally a faster hooper. And then of course I have to get my little nudge in, but my projects are more fun. But
you're fun.
Probably not. Right. Probably not for sure.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay. Today's sponsor is Hoop Mat. And I know many of you already have Hoop Mat. My goodness, we love Hoop Mat here. So special price, $19.99. And if you don't have it, well, I hope that you'll continue to watch today's broadcast to learn why you need it, because it's the only way to keep the outer ring of a standard hoop or the metal bottom of Snap Hoop Monster still while you hoop. So we just love that.
That's a handy tool.
It really is. Yeah.
It doesn't shuffle around.
Yeah. But before we get to that, let's look at some fun pictures. This photo.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So funny.
This is in oh gosh, I don't even know the year.
I don't know the year, but it was Seattle.
It was Seattle. Puyallup. Right. At So Expo. Marie and I had the honor of doing the Friday night Expo live event, which is like 500 people. And so we had these crazy things on our head. Yeah.
Which she didn't tell me till about 20 minutes before we walked out on stage. Right?
That it would be that many people. Right. Marie is a little bit more shy than I am, let's say.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, I never really minded being in front of a large live audience, but she was like looking out.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. But anyway, we did it. We had a blast.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we bought those little souvenirs at that show.
For sure.
Yeah, they're so funny.
Yeah. But when we traveled, look at our fancy luggage.
So glamorous.
Ironing boards, right?
We literally would walk through hotel lobbies with an ironing board or lamp and bring it back.
Absolutely. Yeah, take it back to our room. Use the one from your room, but take it down to the conference center or the banquet room. Yeah. And we ate in the finest restaurants, right?
Sometimes they didn't have a seat for us always, so we would sit in the stock room or wherever.
Wherever, right.
Just for 40 minutes or something.
Yeah. And then we had a lot of engagement photos. These, right? It looks like, but we're really sisters, right? So we're at the Alamo there. We did 2 Stitching Sister cruises that were so much fun. They were
so fun. Hollywood. We did
we held hands with George Clooney. And on the far left is a photo of the two of us at Cal State San Marcos. So
that was so
Sewing
fun.
Machines Plus, that many of you are familiar with that
Yeah.
company. And but they also have, I know they're online, but they also have physical locations. And many
Yeah.
years ago, we were hired by their owner, Ron Martin, to come out and do a Stitching Sister event. And we had no idea where it would be because we'd
Right.
never been there before. So
Right.
he rented this gymnasium
Oh my
at the
gosh.
university,
Yeah.
you know,
Cal
like
State.
on the basketball court.
It was huge.
We had 150 people there,
Right.
75
so fun.
embroidery machines. It was absolutely
They
a
had like
blast.
banners
Right.
everywhere around campus.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, they
it was
did.
crazy.
He had signs on campus, welcome Stitching Sisters.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
it was amazing. Yeah, and
What a good
hey, look, your husband, Doug Zinno, is piping
It's
in.
probably his first time.
First time. Welcome,
Facebook
Doug.
Live.
Nice to see him. You know, and occasionally he would come on a trip with us.
Oh, yeah.
Not very often because we had children, right? So
Yeah.
we didn't always get to play on the road. We
Right.
would just take this quick engagement photo
Right.
and then go back to
Yeah,
work,
right. And then we go home. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one in the center, I'm not sure where that is, but some
Yeah,
beautiful,
California.
some beautiful place,
Lots of
right?
great sunsets.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a lot of the
Okay.
same outfits on in all those pictures.
Oh, we
because
do.
We wear our like
right.
lace
Yeah,
t-shirts. And,
absolutely. And we met Santa Claus.
oh, we met so many famous people. Oh, yes.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very small Elvis.
Yeah. And then on the far right, again, Seattle, that's
Yeah.
Pike's Market,
Pikes
where they
Place.
throw the
fish.
fish, you know?
Oh,
So,
that was a great
so
trip.
fun.
I think we brought our
Absolutely.
sons on that trip. That's
Yeah.
when we
We did.
brought our sons.
We did. That
rented
was
an Airbnb.
Yeah,
Super fun.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Aw,
So
so many
much fun.
memories. Yes,
Yeah.
I got to see so much of this beautiful country.
Yeah, we
doing
sure
that,
did.
Right?
We sure
We're so
did.
blessed.
Yeah, and it was
amazing.
you know, I lived here in Dallas. Marie was in Ohio. Her home airport was Cleveland.
Yep.
And we literally were able to land within 30 minutes of each other
Yeah.
every single
Every
trip.
single time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we only had one time we might have had a flight interruption and
Right. We were
Never
so
canceled
lucky.
an event.
No, we
Yeah, it was
never
great. We were very
lost
fortunate.
a bag. The bags that we used to take.
yeah. It was
Trunk
before Amazon,
shows.
before you could just ship things and
Yeah.
buy towels or whatever. Remember?
Right,
Like we
yeah.
would go and
But the
yeah.
samples, I mean,
Yeah.
we would bring, you know, like
Tons of
15
samples.
quilts and clothes and sweatshirts and jackets and, you know, all kinds of this stuff. And
That's right.
and then technology, I would have two, you know, a projector, possibly two laptops and
Yeah.
all
Oh,
the
that's right, we brought our
wires
own
that you
projector.
need. Yeah,
That's
a
right.
tripod, video
of it.
camera.
Oh my gosh.
The two, what
The
were we
logistics.
thinking?
I don't know.
And-
What would we always say? No, in our next life, we're going to be beaters. We're going to
Yeah.
do beating and
Right.
little jewelry. and-
Yeah, and then
that's
we'd
what we'll do.
we'd be at baggage claim with all these bags, and we'd look at each other and say, "We should be traveling with a little puppy, right? Like,
Yeah.
who would have
Never
room
happened.
for that?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
Oh
be able
my
to do it.
goodness,
That's
yeah.
for sure.
absolutely. So, and we did that
So
for
fun.
8 years, and it was a lot of fun. I
It
will
was.
tell you, it is very hard work to be an educator in the sewing industry, and to you know, go to a sewing machine retailer, and often you've never met them before.
Right.
And you've never seen their store, so you kind of don't know what you're getting into.
Mhm.
On the plus side, it's a lovely industry. You know, it's filled with
Very
very
family-oriented
kind, very
people.
kind people.
Yeah. Second.
It's
third
really very
generation.
nice.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it can be stressful. You don't know what you're getting into. You
Right.
kind of have to be prepared for everything,
Right.
and you have family at home
That
and
you left.
that
and,
you left,
you
and,
know, games
all
that
of
you missed of your children or parties
Yeah.
or whatever that,
Right.
you know, sometimes just happens.
Yeah,
So
for sure,
anyway.
for sure. But
life goes
anyway,
on.
we survived.
Right.
Meanwhile, here's Marie.
Oh, there's
This-
an old picture.
Yeah,
from,
this is. It's so easy.
It's so easy.
Right.
Yeah, I taped a couple
Mhm.
episodes of
Yeah.
that. But when I first started my custom embroidery business, I really started with the placemat purses.
Right.
A woman that I took a class from, she taught me
Uh-huh.
how to make one, and I just
Yeah.
kind of went a little crazy with it.
Yeah.
And I would host designer purse parties. So I
Yeah.
would bring placemats, I would bring
Right.
the beads, I would bring the handles, and then people could design them.
And these ladies that
Loved it.
were your
Yeah.
guests
Yeah.
did not sew.
right,
So
no one
they were
sewed.
just
No,
designing it,
yeah.
and then you
and then I would put them
make.
like in a clear bag, everything,
Yeah.
and then I'd monogram it, and then they,
Yeah.
you know, I'd sew it all together. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
so much
That was
fun.
super fun. I loved doing
Yeah,
that.
you did a really
And
good job of that.
then
yeah.
you know things evolve, and then you
Yeah,
move
absolutely,
on to doing more
absolutely.
multiple things. Yeah.
Yes, and so and then what comes next? You know, pardon me if I'm not.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
just-
electronics back here.
Right, we do. I just want to share though,
Yeah.
like Reen Wilcoxon, our friend from Embroidery Garden, she's
Oh, yeah.
piping in. She says, "No one realizes how hard teaching and traveling
Oh,
is.
it sure is.
It looks so glamorous, laughing out loud, but it
Yes.
is fun. I mean, it's a it's a passion, you know.
And you
that
meet the
yeah.
nicest people.
You do.
Everybody is so understanding,
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to just learn new
Right.
things. It's so fun.
Oh, and here's Becky Mum. So she says she made a bunch of those purses after seeing them at the Texas Showdown.
Yes.
So,
oh my gosh, the Texas Showdown.
So that was here
so
in
fun.
Grapevine, Texas. We did it with Nancy Zeman and Marie and Mary Malari.
Oh my
goodness, we had so much fun. We rented the convention center
in
Grapevine, Texas, which is very near to Dallas if you're not from this area.
Yeah, and, Arlington, right?
Yeah. No, it's in Grapevine.
Oh, Grapevine.
And so anyway, we just that was a lot of fun. That really was a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay. And all right. So let's see what is up next. So meantime, this is going on. She's appearing on It's So Easy and so forth. And she's also helping design the Children's Perfect Placement Kit. I know many of you probably have that. You're familiar with that. Well, that's really Marie's ingenious invention. Of course, my face is on there. I don't know why, but it is.
She kicked me off.
I kicked her off, I guess.
It's okay.
And then you also did
the Sea Life.
The Sea Life stipple. Yeah. So that was really fun. And I think we're going to head over, and then we have some books that we co-authored together. Machine embroidered monograms for the home.
Oh, we love that.
That was
we love that
huge
book.
hit.
We love monogramming. It was so fun to learn the proper etiquette and work on a lot of different items that we did.
Yeah,
it
was
fun.
Really great.
Beautiful
so
book.
let's go over and take a look at when we were doing Stitching Sisters.
Right.
So the monogram book had this beautiful font in it. And Marie, this was your project. Do you remember?
That was so fun.
It was.
We bought the ready-made shade, and
it's like a nightlight.
That's adhesive. It was adhesive. Had an adhesive, paper on it.
Yeah.
But what we digitized the exact size of that shade and made an embroidery file.
Yes,
so
right here.
We taught that in classes.
Yeah.
So they would have it's just like an applique. You would have a placement, then you would have a tack down, like here, and then you would cut that excess away, and then you'd have some decorative stitching here, quilting, and then you just add your monogram. And through the technology of the machines, that people could perfectly place it right in the center in the right orientation.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they would just sew beads on when they got home.
Right.
Or, if we had open machines, because we were just doing embroidery.
That's
when
right.
We taught those events.
But that was so popular.
Everyone loved them.
Yeah,
I
everyone
loved shades all the time. Yeah, they were great. Great
and then
gifts,
we would do like a child's T-shirt featuring your stipple collection, Sea Life.
Right.
And people really learned how to hoop. A small child's T-shirt.
And we used the template, and then we taught them how to use the adhesive stabilizer on the back, the cutaway, and how to hoop it kind of inside out and nest the excess fabric around.
Yeah.
Keep it out of the way of the needle.
Right.
We used that was one of your first monster hoops, I believe.
That's right. Yes. Notice that it's white and it was not very strong.
Literally brand new.
Yeah. But we learned an awful lot. Yeah, this is a long time ago.
Evolve,
Yeah. Oh, and then this was adorable. So here's the finished project. This is just an apron bib with a monogram. And then these are silk flowers.
Silk flowers that I would buy these giant chrysanthemum silk flowers, and then I'd pick the petals off.
Right. Hydrangeas, I think.
Hydrangeas.
Yeah. And then you would just stitch that really pretty little polka dot in the center of the flower. Yeah. Oh, and
we taught them how to use either the laser light or the camera to perfectly place it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was classic. It was so fun.
And then I always like to do a quilt block, so that was the quilt block from the butterfly collection. But then of course, the T-shirt. This was Nancy Zeman and I's collection.
Oh, right.
And ladies just love to make that. We did that in Stitches too.
Bought a regular crew top, crew neck T-shirt, and turned it into the V-neck with
and
that.
This was just some of the examples. I mean,
oh my gosh, we did so many different things through the years. Yeah.
When we first started, it was a 2-day event, and we would do 4 projects a day, right?
Yeah, we did 8 total.
8.
And then we scaled back to 6.
Yeah. So
more realistic.
it was really a lot of fun.
We bought a lot of products. We shipped things in, and then we would stop at a Walmart and buy way too many things.
Like towels. some things weren't worth shipping. So we would come back. And here, let's take a look at here, let's take a look at some of the books. So this was the monogram for the home.
Yeah.
And I think that was our first book that we did together. Yes. And it was pretty unique in the sense that, of course, it had a couple fonts in it, but it really talked about some good rules for monogramming, how to be careful of letters, that might not blend so well together, like BS and, like LSD was another one that we talked about. And, as someone whose initials are like this, you have to get creative on how you're going to, position them. Right. Yeah. So anyway, there was a lot of great tips in here. Oh, we really had designs. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was super fun.
We really did.
Yeah,
so
did a good job.
And then we did a book on organization, but we'll get to that in just a moment because I think, let's go ahead back to PowerPoint and we'll take a look at
so much to look at back here. You people have no idea all the different things we have.
Right. So and she's talking about the studio where we are right now.
What I mean.
Yeah,
so anyway, electronics.
Yeah. So Marie, if you look at this photo, do you see that?
In Ohio.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was beautiful.
How beautiful
I had sunlight, and I had my commercial stabilizer rack, and I had my 2 cutouts in the countertop for my multi-needle machines.
Right.
Then I had my regular sewing machine over to the left. I had a TV.
Yep.
The other multi-needle. Yeah, I had it all.
Yeah, and
really
this was
lots of storage. I had another closet that I had really organized with all my blanks.
Right.
For my business.
Marie is very organized. She's the perfect partner to travel with because, especially for assistants, she would wrap me up. She would because I'd have all these ideas and everything, and she would just get it in the right system, and it worked out wonderful. Yeah, you bet.
You were.
But this photo, okay, but you say you have sunlight, but it is in the basement, so you do have that window.
I had a window.
But look how light and airy by your selection of cabinet color and the paint on the wall really brightened it up.
And the nice, can lighting
in the ceiling,
which really helped.
Yes,
and I had more on the other side. And on the other side was like my ironing station and again, that closet. But and I did have carpet, which originally I didn't want to have. But being it was in the basement and it's really cold there in the winter. And it also made it really quiet. And that was really important to me because you have 3 machines going.
Right.
It gets really loud. And I don't always want to have earplugs in because... you want to know what your kids are doing upstairs and somebody was at the door before a ring doorbell.
Exactly. Yeah. Creative Abigail says, wow, dream studio.
Yeah, it was great.
So we wrote
but we don't live there anymore. We moved to Florida, so I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I'm just going to look up and see if we have a date in here. We probably don't. But we might have. Yeah, 2014. We wrote this book, Embroidery Studio. So yesterday, I took the liberty of Googling Embroidery Studio Organization, and look what comes up as in the second row is her studio. And I have Googled that topic for years.
That's crazy.
Often for my own inspiration, wanting to change my home space and so forth. And Marie's is still top of.
So flattered.
I know.
I haven't really Googled it that much.
Space.
It was a great space.
Yeah, it really was. So anyway, just tooting our little horn.
My new guest bedroom is not like that.
No, and
I'm still trying to figure it out after 4 years.
Yeah, and this is your new guest bedroom. So
that's my stand that I bought and put completely together during COVID.
Right.
It came in about 8 boxes.
Yeah.
And we lived at the time on a second floor condo anyway. And
it
was an adventure, but
and I think does Arrow make this? I think
it was a great cabinet.
It's a beautiful cabinet. It is still available today.
Yeah,
I look at the cutout in the image on the left and in the center. The cutout for the machine. So that's for bags. That's for T-shirts to hang down.
Yeah, heavy like bulky towels or whatever you have. But it's very helpful to have that cutout.
It is. Right.
Kind of need that if you're doing a lot of bags.
You do.
It's very important.
Right. And so I'm just going to back up a couple slides so we can look at Marie's, which I should have zoomed in, but you can see here right underneath
my countertop. Our friend who remodeled our basement for us, he did that for me. He just took a jigsaw and cut out my countertop in a U shape just so that it would work for my machines.
Right.
Yeah.
That was so sweet. So brilliant. And
it works for me.
Let's see. Joanna Banco says, oh yeah, I remember Marie's quote from the organizing book, do the worst first. Do you remember that?
Oh, like the hardest thing.
The hardest thing first.
Do that first. You're right.
Good.
Yeah, don't put it off.
Yeah. They like,
Yeah.
So neat. You're so neat. Wow. Very organized. Chris Kavanaugh.
I used to be. Yeah. And everyone knew, like my family, they didn't come down and mess in my studio.
Yeah.
I never ate or drank down there. I didn't even bring coffee down there just because you know, you have things laying out and you have something priceless. Maybe I would embroider and other people sing sometimes.
Yeah, customers
didn't want to, but christening
right.
gowns and like,
yes,
you got to have your rules.
You do have to have your rules. Yeah, and I don't eat in my studio either.
Yeah.
I have water, sometimes tea, but not very often. And look, here's so Francie, Medicine Moors.
Medicine Moors. Oh my gosh, some of our best events, right?
Oh
we
yeah,
had so much fun. I loved going to California.
Yeah, that was really super fun, and yeah, we would always get some great meals, you know, because our time off would be in the evening, right? And they have wonderful seafood, which we love. So
just beautiful outside dining.
Absolutely, so much fun
all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so we're working. We're working. Okay. Why isn't that advancing?
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out.
Let's see. Yeah,
we got slideshows.
Okay, so the slideshow froze. Maybe it did.
Okay, so we're going to go to probably some of the multiples.
Oh,
we're working on it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm going to back up then. Can you back me up to the towels? Let her talk about that. Gloria?
It's backing up over there.
Okay. Oh, I see it over there. Okay, so sorry, folks. Marie and I got a little disorganized here. We're talking about organization. Marie, you did thousands of towels.
Lots of towels. I played a lot of tennis, and I still play tennis, but a lot of people would approach me to, you know, do personal towels either for their club or for their team or whatever. So I had a wholesale business, of course. And through that business, I could purchase beautiful blanks from a number of different vendors. And sometimes people would want to give me their own towels, which I would steer that away, you know, steer your person away from that, just because it's, if you have a mistake or something that doesn't turn out right, it's hard to purchase that. But anyway, so these terry cloth towels or the terry velour towels I would do for different tennis clubs. And I would use those for, you know, people give them as gifts or they sell them in the clubhouse or whatever. And just so that you have the same exact logo on all your towels, I would have to use a template. And I think we're going to go to that.
We are going to go to that. But before we do that, let's go look at these gorgeous towels. Oh, my goodness.
Okay,
so you would bundle things in a basket, right?
Yeah, these are one of the wedding gifts or a shower gift that I would give, or someone would buy, you know, from me. And sometimes they would give me like a color scheme or something, and I would try to build that basket. You know, I would roll the towels after I monogrammed them and always do like a really nice plush towel. And I would do 2 hand, 2 bath towels, and 2 washcloths.
So nice.
And then I would, just a couple of different examples of different towel sets. And then I would embroider the ribbon as well. And people loved that. And I would embroider the ribbon and wrap the entire basket in tulle, just bridal illusion tulle, which keeps it all intact. And you can even ship it that way.
Yeah.
And people would use those bows over again, you know, like on a wreath later, or maybe even during the wedding or something.
Right.
It's kind of cute. Yeah, I love doing that.
Beautiful.
Love embroidering on the ribbon. That's so fun.
And then,
bridal, you know,
right?
Wedding attendant gifts. That's a wonderful market, getting bigger and bigger every day. If you're in the business or thinking about it. But these are nice waffle weave toiletry cases. Yeah. And of course, people would combine these with maybe a robe or some other little gift for the bridesmaids if they wanted.
Yeah. And then this is from.
This was actually, I think, my Craftsy class picture, but where I did it for the magazine in the end, then I taught that.
Right.
But again, like a baby bundled gift that you could, you know, that's you did a burp cloth, the tote bag with like an initial, you know, for little Blake, and then the pretty plush blanket that's appliqué.
Yeah, and you know, we did feature it in the magazine, and then we also, I think it was also in one of the books. I think it might have been in Monograms for the Home. I think we included it in there.
Yeah. Super
so
fun.
but beautiful.
And
these
diaper, a bunch of different accessories.
Right, and these burp cloths, they were so popular.
My mommy is wild about me, and then there's another one that says Daddy is wild about me.
Yeah.
Oh, I love doing that.
I know, and those things are timeless. They're just timeless.
Yeah, I don't think they're out of fashion. I mean, that's probably 10 or 12 years ago.
I know, absolutely.
Still an adorable little,
look
little
at this.
gift. Oh yeah, it's a precious little guy.
Yeah,
I did that little onesie, and then again the plush baby blankets. You can't go wrong with that.
Right.
People love it.
They do. And they love to, put that date on there and the name, really make it personalized.
Absolutely,
That's what's so.
And I love doing it on the satin.
On
too.
the binding.
Yeah. Look at that little baby. She looked like a doll.
She
really.
does.
That was a customer of mine. Yeah.
All the black hair, so
precious.
Sweet. And Marie, personally, she has gifted my grandchildren with, monogrammed and all that information, birth information on that plush blanket on the binding. And they all treasure it.
They do. Yeah, I love when people send me pictures. It feels so good.
Right. And my granddaughter is now 3 years old. That's her favorite blanket. Yeah, so we love to see that.
And they love the satin.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Never mind all the hours of piecing that her real grandmother did on the quilt that she gave her. But we'll catch up with that. Yeah, that's right. No harm, no foul.
She'll come around to it. And then, just another combination of beautiful monograms. It's a great way to play with sometimes your software and just create a whole bunch of different things in the same color scheme. It's a wonderful gift.
Right. And I like how you incorporate those colors, show it in different ways. Sometimes the gray is the frame. Sometimes the gray is the name, like Caroline. Yeah. And you were really great at, and still are, at layering a monogram with the name.
Yeah, people love that. So like the one burp cloth on the bottom left there has Caroline written in like a block, and then a nice big cursive light pink C that looks so elegant.
So lovely. Yeah.
Different fonts blended together. Looks, just looks elegant. Looks nice.
That's right. Okay, and more, right? So, lots
of baby. Yeah.
So this was popular.
It was. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. The onesies from 1 month to 12 months.
Yeah, in a variety of the shades of pink, gray, and white. And
so let's just talk about that for a minute, though, okay? Because you're like, oh, I'm going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
and then
you get the onesies, like, and maybe you get a dozen of 3 to 6 months, and then you go,
that's not going to fit in 12 months.
Right.
Exactly. So now you figure that out.
You have to figure out what size to use for what month, and
you kind of just estimate.
And of course, the first time I tried to do it was for twins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brent's twins.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's a lot. I don't think it really worked out.
You kind of have to lay it out.
They loved it in the beginning. I got like month 1 to 3 photos, and then after that, they kind of changed it. It's a little hard.
Yeah, but it's fun. It was a fun project. Yeah, now you can just get a screen printed or whatever.
That's right.
Like they do. Yeah. But
here's my sweet husband saying, "Congratulations, Eileen, and welcome back to DFW, Marie.
Thanks,
how
Pete.
Sweet.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, honey.
Great to be here."
Okay. So here's a great question from Callie. She says, with doing many towels in your business, do you pre-wash towels before embroidery?
No.
Never.
LL Bean's not.
They're not pre-washing.
Macy's isn't pre-washing.
Williams and Sonoma isn't. No.
If you embroider it right, they'll be fine when they're stitched.
Absolutely.
And you want them to be nice and fluffy when you give them as a gift.
Right.
So.
And
not necessary.
Yeah. And so jumping topics, but the burp cloth on the right. Now that's a boy, Camden, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And we often hear that, there's no embroidery for little boys. And, there is a limited choice, but look at the creative stuff you put on there.
Just simple designs that most of them are just programmed in my machine, I think. In my baby lock.
Right. But you paired it with cool ribbon, like little anchors on one, polka dots and stripes and little wave. Very nice.
I've had some amazing customers through the years, and they trusted me, and they'd be like, okay, these are the colors. Like, just do whatever you want. Right. And then when you do like 12 burp cloths, it's just fun to change it up and do that. Yeah.
And so Lori Albrecht says that after she saw Marie's 12-month onesies in the magazine, she did that for her granddaughter.
And
she loved all your articles.
Sweet.
Yeah, Marie, you had great articles. You did.
Sweet.
You absolutely
Thanks a lot.
did.
Thanks for writing in. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see what Joanna Banco. She had an embroidery student that bought a machine and wanted to embroider on the baby blanket remnant for her son, who was graduating from high school. Oh, I hope that worked out for her, because that's a sweet thing, right? And maybe really put the year of graduation, or who knows what she put on it, but that's very sweet.
Yeah, very sentimental.
Yeah, really sentimental. And then, of course, one of our favorite things to embroider is napkins.
Oh, love those.
They're
love to give it as a gift. Gave my daughter 8 lap napkins for her shower. I think.
Yep, I did the same for my daughter. I think they're in the same package as when I gave them to her.
Oh, really? Lindsay's used hers. Lindsay
them?
definitely used hers. Yeah, they look really cute. I think she had them at Thanksgiving this year. It was really nice. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing to to give as a gift.
Yeah, to have,
and
to
have,
right. To just know that it's kind of in your back pocket. If you're having a special meal, special occasion, you can really dress up your table without having another set of china or so forth. A lot of the younger folks don't like multiple sets of china.
That's right.
But this can dress up the
elevate
table.
it a little bit. Placemats, napkin wings. And here, guess what? You can get napkins in black. They don't have to be white.
Oh,
you don't
yeah,
have to fret. You can get a dark color now.
Right. Yeah.
They don't look stained.
That's right. They don't. Okay. And Marilyn Snow wants to know, have you ever embroidered on a bridal veil?
I have embroidered on tulle, but I don't think it was just a veil. Yeah. So I embroidered on tulle. Yeah. Very light, stitches. Yeah. Lightly digitized.
And Marilyn, I have seen embroidered, customized veils, but I haven't tackled it either. But
tulle is so cheap. So if you want to do it, buy a couple yards, try and see what works. Because I've seen monograms.
For sure.
Veils. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter didn't want anything like that. So or I would have done it.
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes Marie would call me and say, what did you do today? And I would just say mistakes, right? Because we all have days like that.
Have days that things just don't work out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it could be so frustrating.
Yeah.
So
it's
frustrating.
It's usually something you really care about, and it's usually somebody in your family that you're making something for.
It always appears to be whenever you are stitching for family.
Right.
You have a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if someone's standing there watching you.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'll just do this real quick.
Yeah.
And then
or like your husband comes and says, "Will you all?" Well, he'll come and ask, "Can you just monogram this handkerchief?" Oh, sure. And that gets eaten up. But
that's funny.
Oh my God. I'll just once many years ago we were teaching a class and this student said that her husband kept asking her, to do T-shirts for his golf buddies and month after month. And finally she said to him, "My machine doesn't do menswear." And I've always remembered that.
It was the fancy polo shirt from the golf club or whatever. She didn't want to embroider on it. It was so funny. That was so cute. I was like, oh, that's a good one. That's like I say, my sewing machine doesn't do hemming.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like the hem.
Right. Yeah. So embroidery machines don't hem. So okay, so we have a bunch of stuff to share. And we're going to do the magazine first. I don't think we did that, right?
That's right.
So let's do that.
Down memory lane.
And then we'll get into the tips. So here's Marie's cover. That she made the cover with her Stipple
Sea Life collection.
Sea Life.
Yeah, it was a tote bag.
Yeah, and goodness, that's a long time ago. That was in 2015.
Wow.
And then we just have some favorite projects. Like here, look at this that Marie did. Is that gorgeous?
Yeah.
These director chairs.
Oh, that was so fun.
And
added the fancy.
The magazine, when in its heyday, we really did hire the right studio, photography studio. They would bring this to life. They would literally have patio furniture, and we would, put the director's chairs in that scene and really make a beautiful setting. And this is on the spine here, but this is a wrap.
We even decorated the flower pot.
Yeah, the flower pot, right. But the cover is
here, let me get it.
Yeah, is off the edge is this embroidery of a garment that I purchased. And this is probably my favorite project that I ever made.
That was so beautiful.
Absolutely. I don't wear it anymore, but look at that. I mean, it was just beautiful to stitch through and the lesson was to stitch through 2 layers of fabric. I don't think there's interfacing in here. There might be. And, trying to control those 2 shifting layers and then literally stitching off the edge onto air. And at that time, I used, Sulky made a product called Heat Away that was kind of like a coarse interfacing. And you hoop that, and I put this on and so forth, and stitched off the edge, and then you burned it away.
That's right. Burned it away,
and anyway, but that worked out really lovely. Thank you. So and this model, Pam Skaggs, if any of you were subscribers, you often saw her on the cover of our magazine because, she was just brilliant. She could bring anything to life. Okay, and speaking of the studio, here we do have Steve and Michael Studios. They're not in business anymore, but this was the studio that we went to shoot all of our issues. And look at the warehouse. This is all props. Everything. So I would bring the projects to Steve Woods. He was my photographer, and we would review the projects.
Is that you?
That's me. Yeah,
That is
I
you.
know. That's me with a different hairdo. Yeah, lots of different hairdos through the years.
Yeah.
And Steve was just a magician. And so we would review the projects and figure out what kind of layout are we going to put them in and so forth. And we would build the set around that. Oh, that was so much fun. Absolutely love that. Okay, and then this one is from 2013. And look at this garment. We do have this here. So this was a fun process. So there's a pocket. Come on and bring that over onto the scene so they can see. So as you can see, the pocket is still usable, right? And the embroidery flows seamlessly across the pocket back onto the garment. And of course, that was done by removing the pocket and stitching. So let's take a look how that was done. We removed the pocket. We did all of the embroidery on the pocket. And then we did the same embroidery, eliminating that center medallion on the shirt, and then just pinning that pocket back in place to match it up. And, it really worked out beautifully. I wore that on the set of It's So Easy, I think.
Oh, that's such
Isn't
a
that
pretty
cool?
shirt.
Yeah,
It still
really
looks great.
beautiful. It does still look
wear it.
great. Yep, you could.
Very nice.
So anyway, that's fun stuff from
Mhm.
the magazine days. Lots of fun,
Yep.
different things. And let's see. Oh, and Joanne Banco says, Steve wore the men's shirt project she had made, and it had his initial on it by chance. That is so true. I can't believe you remember that, Joanne. He was wonderful. And yeah, Steve Woods from Rock River Studios. That was the name of his knife making studio today, and he still does Rock River Studios, but back then he was Stephen Michael Studios. And
what
my
a cool
goodness,
spot that was.
what a cool
That was
spot.
fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It really was. They had an area in the warehouse that they called Wall Street, and it was literally walls.
Right.
They were like
brick or stone
8 by 12 or 16 feet, just one wall, and they were all like you would look at carpet rugs in a TJ Maxx Home Goods or something, and you could just pick out the wall.
And everything was fake, like every
food.
piece of food, anything you saw anywhere was fake.
Right. You could never eat anything that was on display because it could be 2 years old. It's been spray painted with shellac or something.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we did a bathroom once, and he got this generator and he shot bubbles into the bathtub, and it was
make a
fantastic.
bubble bath. Oh my gosh.
And shaving cream is often used in photography to look like ice cream or whipped cream,
right?
And because it has a longer life, it lasts longer,
right?
And it doesn't have as much of a sheen because that's undesirable for lighting and so forth.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
We did think though that the stylists, stylists sounds like such a glamorous job, but really
it's ironing.
They're really good at ironing.
Yeah,
they're like ironing all day long.
Right, all day.
Remember that?
Yeah,
so funny.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Marianne Dublago says,
people writing to
still
you.
have all her magazines and love going through them for inspiration.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you, Marianne. We do that too here for sure.
It's such a nice network of customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was really neat.
Okay. So I guess we'll go back to PowerPoint. I think we've covered all that memory lane stuff that we really wanted to cover, and we'll talk about multi-needles. Right? Because that's your area of expertise, right?
Yeah, it was.
So here's a 10 needle. And first tip number 1 we're going to give you is, where do you load black and white, Marie?
I usually do them in the back because they're little, you're not going to change those colors. You're going to use those
almost every design,
right? Or very, very frequently. So if you put them towards the back, the middle of the back of the machine,
like 5 and 6, right?
And they're not in the way. So when you have to change your colors, it's easier to do like 8, 9, and 10, and 1, 2, and 3 on the left and the right.
And
at least how our machines are set up.
Right. And when you change color, you kind of work from the outside in, right? And actually you work from the inside out. So 5 and 6 stays there, and then you would, change the ones closer to the outside.
Right.
Anyway,
of course, it depends what you're embroidering. If you're doing a logo that's constantly the same 3 colors, so you keep them as, set up as you
That's right.
prefer.
And people who do spirit wear for the same schools or universities, they are just going to have those colors.
I did a lot of purple, a lot of white.
Right, because that was your high school colors. So keep that in mind also, right? That keep those colors that you're always, using most often on permanent color, on a permanent needle. Wow,
that's right.
I'm babbling.
They know what you're saying.
They know what I'm saying. Okay. So tip number 1 is machine maintenance, right?
Very important. You want to oil the machine.
I oil every day.
If you're using it every day.
Right,
yes.
when I use it.
And then make sure that oil doesn't drip down anywhere. I usually just throw a piece of felt in my hoop and then stitch something real quick just to make sure that the oil has gone through and it's not going to leak on if I had satin or if I had a nice knit or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of important.
Right.
And then always test your design.
Right.
You test your embroidery design. It's one of the most important things, I think, besides the maintenance.
So let's take a look at this T-shirt under the overhead cam. And here you can see, like, we're never wearing this, right?
Right.
I mean, it just looks
just
a little silly.
T-shirt. Maybe you had bleach stains on it somewhere. Maybe you just go to Goodwill and buy a couple blanks.
Let's see. It's my husband's, Margaritaville or something, right? Yeah, we're not wearing that anymore.
No.
And so before it went, in the trash bin or donated, I would just test embroidery designs on this shirt, and I'll keep it until
especially if it's the fabric that you're using, too.
Right?
It's important. So
now, also, you would go to a thrift store.
I would go to Goodwill or Salvation or whatever, and I would buy some blanks, in a variety. Maybe one in denim, maybe one in knit. Something performance wear, something like that. Might as well buy something for $2 than ruin a good sample that you just bought or a good blank.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you paid for,
Yeah.
with your
and
account. Where else? Then we gather the supplies, all the things that you need, the right stabilizer and the color threads that you're going to use, whether you have a single needle or multi-needle.
Now, when you are like say you have an order for 24 performance shirts, right? Do you buy 24 or do you buy like 26, 28?
I might buy one extra, like in a large, just like in a normal size, just to be safe.
Yeah,
but generally,
good. You're confident.
Just to be safe. Yeah. I mean, if the sample is $3 or $4.
Yeah. So Colleen asked, do you oil my baby lock every day, or we're talking about a multi-needle? We're talking about a multi-needle.
Yeah.
You don't need to oil those baby lock brother machines. In fact, they say don't do that, right? Bring it into the dealer for your annual checkup. But on the multi-needle machine, when you turn that on at a baby lock or brother, it says oil the machine.
Yeah. Before you're using it.
Right.
If you're not using it that day, it's
and I have noticed a change in performance by oiling every day. Like if I'm having thread breakage and I oil, it usually solves the problem.
It does.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. Changing the needle, right?
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Good question, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mark the placement.
Oh.
So not just one, but do all 24.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do it.
It saves a lot of time.
Yep. Okay. So
we got our little boards.
Yeah, we got our little boards.
Okay. Got that.
It's fun. I'm not used to having somebody in the house with me, right?
She's not used to that.
It's nice to have Marie here for sure. Kind of tidy up. Okay. Here, we can show them. Should we show them our high school pictures? Were we in high school there?
Were we?
It feels like it. Well, Marie wrote a book for Krause Publications, and it was machine embroidery for children
babies and tots.
Babies and tots, yeah. And here we are at
the publisher table, whatever.
Right, at Houston Quilt Market.
Yes, Houston Quilt Market. That
quite
was
a long time ago.
Yeah.
But we had so much fun. It
was
was really exciting. We each had new books out with the same publisher that year.
That
was so fun.
It was.
And then this was we were doing a interactive CD that came with embroidery designs and video instruction and all that. Yeah. And this was 100 years ago, right?
It was. Yeah.
But anyway, okay.
Bad haircuts ago.
Yeah. Okay. So we're working. So I'm going to let you take over.
So,
all right.
When we're talking about placement, and if I was going to do an order of, say, my tennis towels that I would get, I already stickered a couple, but you would get your hand towel with the border okay, which I generally like to use if possible, just because it gives you a nice visual straight line when you're hooping and when you're embroidering. And this one we folded in half and we kind of pressed it, and you kind of have a seam there. And you would take your template that says hand towel with a border, it says it right there, and you place that line right on top of the border line, and we would take one of our Target stickers that comes in this little dispenser. It's so cute. And then you would take your little Target sticker and you stick it in the middle. Make sure the crosshair is going in the correct orientation of what your embroidery design or what your monogram is going to be. And then you take that off, and then you take the towel and you put it aside, and you'll have maybe, 4 or 6 different towels that are already marked.
Right? Yeah.
So you place them aside, and then you can start hooping them. So do you want me to actually put it in the hoop, or do you want me to show you like on the cooking show how we actually had one hooped? Okay.
Do you have stabilizer?
It's right over here.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Because here, I could give you a hand. You want me to give you a hand?
Could you give me a hand? Oh, those things came around the country with us too.
They sure did.
So we have one of our towels that's already placed aside.
But notice how, here, let's get off this mat, because off this board, because you need to be on the hooping mat.
That's why I'm wondering, why is it slipping around?
All over,
okay, we
right?
got a pretty pink hoop mat that I wish we had when I had my business, which we didn't have.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing it down too low. Sorry.
Yeah. And so, now
see how the border gives you like a nice visual. So when you're putting it in the hoop, you can see that it's straight.
Yeah. Really nice.
Just kind of open it up. You got to undo your little screw first.
Yeah.
Should have demoed that.
Yeah. That's great. And I think you're in. Are you in? Yep. There you go.
Yep.
Notice how Marie hoops with the palms of her hands and not her
absolutely.
thumbs. Yeah.
Very important.
So that's great. And then,
very important.
And now you're going to always have 2 of the same size hoops, right?
Yes. Yes. So, it's very important.
Because you want one on the machine stitching, and while you're hooping the second one.
And it just saves time when you're doing multiples. It just saves you so much time to have things set up and ready to go. And then you can, here's the stabilizer. Here.
Okay.
Sorry. We had it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so our other towel.
Yep. Now she'll just, and so if
it's already been.
Yeah. If you don't have
out.
2 standard hoops, then you could have a 5x7 monster, and you could have a 5x7 standard, and it still counts as 2 hoops, right?
That's right.
And it just makes it saves time.
And even on the multi-needle machine, you're using, the arms are not going to be repositioned, so you can have multiple, like magnetic and whatever. So anyway, here we have all our towels already set up.
All set up.
They're ready to go, and you're ready to stitch it. And when you are on your multi-needle machine, you want to make sure that you have the bulk of the fabric hanging off the table or away from the machine, so it doesn't get caught up in the back of that machine or under the mechanism of the hoop.
So Marie, when you are, how often do you change needles? Let's talk a little bit about that.
I should probably change needles more often than not. But, now that I'm not doing it as frequently as before, I don't change them as frequent. But anyway, I would change them like definitely before every job. Oil your machine, and if you're working on some specific fabric that's maybe satin or a knit, make sure you change your needle for those jobs specifically. Maybe you can keep a little notebook and write down like what needle you changed when, if you're really particular, and then you have a journal or you have a document that tells you.
Now, when you're going to attach this to the machine, right? Now, you put it on so that the towel, the body is hanging towards you.
Right. That's what I said, away from the machine. That's okay. So that the bulk of the fabric doesn't get stuck in the hoop and in the arms mechanism back there.
And
it's very important.
And another really important tip is to check the orientation of the design to make sure it's matching the orientation
why we have
of
the Target sticker. So you see how it has the arrow facing in the right direction. It should really turn it that way.
Yeah.
And that that either your monogram or your embroidery design's going to go in that orientation. Super important.
Yeah. And then once you have that all determined and you've gotten that orientation properly, the last thing you want to do is, well, not the last thing, but remove the target
Oh,
sticker,
yeah.
right?
Because I know that we've
Yeah.
done that many times.
Right.
Stitch right over that.
And unless you're stitching in,
right.
yellow thread, you're going to be in trouble.
I know.
Okay, so
Exactly.
then let's see. And then we also want to check under the hoop. So,
oh yeah,
right,
very important.
Yeah,
especially on a multi-needle, I would just slide my hand underneath the hoop, like feel the stabilizer. Make sure there's not a sleeve to a short sleeve shirt.
Right.
To make sure that there's not the corner of the baby blanket stuck underneath there.
And in fact, let's go ahead and take a look over at that multi-needle hoop that's on the machine right now. And you can see we have the body is extending away from the machine itself. And so like when she puts it on, right, she's going to put it on and check that orientation and then make sure there's nothing under there. I mean, this is just a scrap of fabric.
I would literally take my hand and just
go under.
Feel underneath. They have this little support there, but usually you wouldn't have that.
Yeah, often that's
or
not
you
there.
don't need it. But
and we can
just
take
saying.
that off just so people can see,
Yeah.
though, what that's like.
Yeah, especially if you're doing like, it's a child's T-shirt. You want to make sure that there's not a sleeve or the bottom of the T-shirt is tucked underneath.
Yeah. So
it's really important.
That's important.
Yeah.
You don't have one of these?
I have a table.
Oh.
I don't have that though.
You need this. This
Do
is
I?
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
sure.
just saying. Okay.
I didn't know we were using that camera.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Well, I forgot
awesome.
it was on, so I
awesome.
put it. Yeah.
We could have shown a lot of things.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Let's see. Oh,
Things evolve.
Jennifer Alexander. Listen to what she says. A pair of scissors stuck to the bottom of her magnetic.
Oh.
Well, I haven't done that. Okay, Jennifer. I hope you caught it before you started, stitching, right?
Wow.
Jeez,
crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's terrible. And let's see. Hi, Rachel Price. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today from Monmouth, right? Okay.
Nice.
So let's see. What else do we want to do? We check under the hoop. And then, now a whole nother way to approach all this. You just showed all that great hooping in a standard hoop and in a monster hoop.
Right.
But we also have sticky hoops.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so that's really handy.
Right.
So I'll kind of clean this off and bring that over into the scene.
Yep.
We do have a whole stack of napkins, but we don't have to show them all. And Marie, the truth be told, I've shown this on camera a whole bunch,
so
but
your followers have already seen it.
They have,
okay.
But maybe not everybody. You never know.
Don't see it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So this is our sticky hoop, and if you remember, it comes on the board, right? It's packaged on this board. The stabilizer is not there. The stabilizer comes on the back of the board. And, many people don't realize that, I can't pick this up.
Okay.
Many people don't realize that you should keep this board and you use it to transport the sticky hoop because, if you push your hand here, this is tear away.
Yeah.
So you could push your hand all the way through, So first off, you do that. Okay. So I'm going to flip this around so it looks like our viewer is sitting at the machine.
And these are for the single needle machines.
Yeah, this is for the single. We are. Yeah, we're flip-flopping around.
So we already used our template for the napkin.
Yep. On point. That you showed us. This beautiful set that you did.
Yeah, right, in the photograph. Yeah. So
you just center your
line that up.
Yep. And then you're going to work from the back of the hoop. And I'm going to just place that down. And I'm going to stitch that first monogram. Then I'm going to pull this up and over. Right. And maybe I would tape it or
Scotch tape is your friend, masking tape is your friend.
You can use a Target sticker. And then next up is, napkin number 2.
Yeah.
And you would repeat that. And then after you
use either the basting file to hold it down or the tracing feature, just to make sure that you are in this, the right orientation and you're not stitching on top of the other napkin.
Yeah. And here would be the next one.
Because you're just doing that one little monogram or initial or design or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And you have plenty of room.
And you can feel the other napkin underneath. And so, right now I'm a little close. Here it is right here. So I'm going to move this forward. And,
that's the joy of using that sticky hoop.
Oh my
because
goodness.
It's so much easier.
Yeah, so fast. Right.
And to hoop all these napkins, if you give it napkins, you're usually doing 8 napkins or 12 napkins or,
it's
a large
quantity.
Number. Rarely you would do 4, but.
And it's just.
Doing another? Okay.
Sure. Because you can actually get 6 to 8, depending on the size of the hoop and the size of the monogram.
Right.
So.
Just pretend you had.
Here we go. We'll do that. Well, yellow on yellow. They're not really going to see that.
Not going to see that one, but
anyway,
okay.
we stitch that, and then we pull these up, and then we keep going, right? So
great.
and I've done it
technique.
with bibs, a set of bibs for a
Yep.
baby and napkins. It's just
I know
so
I did
fast.
it for something else I was going to tell you about,
Yeah?
but I just I forgot. We've got a lot of things
Yeah.
we're going through.
Yeah, and Creative Appliques, Dawn Chase, she says it's a huge time saver, not to
Yes.
mention on stabilizer too. And it is, because if you were doing sticky stabilizer for
it's
8
expensive.
napkins,
It's
individual
expensive.
hoop beads,
Yeah. All those
I know.
costs add up, especially if
Absolutely.
you have a business.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And Jennifer Alexander says she loves her sticky hoops. But
Oh.
here's my husband, and he says, "Oh, that's where that shirt went. A higher purpose."
The one
if you remember,
practice.
the testing shirt. That's my husband's testing shirt. So
gosh.
thanks, Pete. Thanks.
You can wear it tomorrow.
Yeah, sometimes I go into the Goodwill bag before it actually goes out the door.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
I know. And Diane Zimmerman says she loves all of her hoops and the pressing pads for sure. I know. We have made great product here.
Absolutely.
We have absolutely made great.
It's really evolved.
Yeah,
right?
it has evolved, but
it started with, I think. Sorry, but the first product was really the placement.
Perfect
placement
right?
kit.
That Deborah Jones really brought to us
and
for sure.
We would teach that all over the place.
Oh my
And
goodness,
then things evolved.
Yeah.
From your writers or your readers,
and also from you. I mean, you were on the
People.
commercial side, and so she was doing multiples. And in my career,
Yeah.
I was one-offs, right? I mean, I had to make a beauty
one
thing,
of a kind thing, yeah.
for photography mainly, right? And we would talk about problems and so forth, and solutions would occur. So it's just awesome. Yeah, we've been really blessed. And Marianne Dublaga, who comes to many of our events, we are always happy to see you in the chat, Marianne. She says she thinks she has she thinks she has every product, and you really might. You might. Yeah, I know I do.
One of my neighbors in Bonita, who I took you to her house, my friend Sharon, who doesn't do Facebook, so she's missing this. But anyway, she has like every single magnetic hoop.
She does.
And I took Eileen to her house so that she could see it. And she was so impressed. It's just beautiful.
It was really cool. Really, really
Very
cool.
nice.
So anyway, so much fun.
Great customers.
Yeah, I know.
I know. We're going to miss her. I don't know what all you girls are going to do now. They're still going to have hoops. But
I know. Well, Dime has great plans.
That's
I mean, Dime by OESD is going to just be bigger and stronger than Dime ever was.
Absolutely.
So that's a wonderful thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
And but I'm not going quite yet. My last event will be on July 31st. So I have a special guest next week and another guest the following. And, then the last one. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
You've earned it. She's worked so hard, my sister. You guys have no idea how hard she's worked her whole life.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
amazing. Making the products. Making the projects, designing the tools, writing all the articles and teaching and having children, you name it,
I know.
All of it.
But I've been blessed in many ways,
have.
believe me. And I'm very grateful to have this a great experience.
Yeah.
And the people that we've met and the talent that we've seen.
It's
oh
amazing.
my.
It is.
And the talent that's behind me coming up. It's just
and the technology. The young people are just,
Oh, and you have no idea what's coming. Just think what you see on your phones and so forth. AI, eventually that's going to get to our industry, and it's just, lots of great things in store for sure.
It's great.
So, but Roy Garland says, thank you, Eileen Roche. Thank you, Roy Garland. Believe me, because he's made me look like a rock star.
The can-do guy, for sure.
He's
the guy you call.
Yeah, absolutely. So, without him and many others, we wouldn't be here for sure. So it's been super fun. Super fun.
Did we get through all our stuff? I guess we did.
We got through everything. It goes fast, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, she goes like, it's going to be like 20 minutes.
I thought it was like 20 minutes. She's like, it's an hour.
20 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be fast.
Okay, we did it.
Yeah. I am just going to go over this slide, though, with people, just because I really want
people
to.
Had some questions.
Yeah, so
it's good to know.
And thank you for all your comments. It's so nice. It really are. Linda Brooks, thank you so much. It's really sweet. But many people don't know that there's actually 3 different arms on the Baby Lock and Brother tubular machines. Okay, so the 6 and 10 needles come with a capital A arm and a capital B arm, right? And the A works with our 4x4, 5x7, 8x12, and 8x8. But the or 8x14, pardon me. But the B, the capital B arm, works with the 8x8 of our hoops, okay? So we often get questions about that. I thought I would just give you that little illustration, and then I'm going to show you the next slide. So this is a 6 and 10 needle arms that come on the machine. Now, on the singular tubular, you have a lowercase a arm, and that accommodates the 4x4, 5x7, and the 8x8 that's made for that machine. I didn't make it up, okay? I'm just sharing the knowledge, all right? So
there it is.
There it is, okay? And you might want to come back to this for reference later on. And there it is for you, yeah. So, Marianne, thank you. I appreciate your kind words. And I'll tell you one reason why I was motivated to think about retirement was, many of you probably on your phone, you have all your photos, right? And sometimes, a bot is making, memories from 12 months ago. Yeah. And many of mine are all embroidery step outs. And I'm like, something might be wrong with this. Yeah.
I need different photos.
I need,
more
sunsets, right.
Sunsets.
And children, grandchildren, and all that. So, oh my gosh. Anyway, so.
A little wake-up call.
Okay.
But that's okay.
All right. Well, what else is coming on here at Dime? Well, don't forget to subscribe because it tells us you like what you're seeing. We really do appreciate that for sure. That's right. And then Ashley's going to be back with Software Success on July 15th. Oh, Marie, she is so talented.
She's awesome. Yeah.
She's amazing. She really is. And she's staying. And she's going to be elevated and lifted up. So you're all going to enjoy more from her knowledge for sure.
That's great.
Okay. And please take advantage of today's special. If you haven't already purchased Hoop Mat, go ahead and get it today because it's only $19.99. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining me. I really want to thank my sister.
Thank you for having me. It's been fabulous.
Yeah, so much fun.
Wonderful career
to work together. Yeah, and you too.
You've done so much.
It's really been wonderful.
Thanks.
So next week, I have a special guest. Regina from OESD is going to join me. We both started our careers focusing on Janome machines. So we'll take a little step back in time looking at that and also talk about what's coming in the future. So
that's great.
Yeah,
well,
be great.
Fun show today.
Right. So
great job.
Thank you all for joining me. And I'll be here next week. We'll see you then.
Take care.